In the beginning, the gods did not fear Fenrir. They laughed at him. He was only a cub then, a strange wolf with eyes too old for his young body, a creature born small, but growing faster than anything they had ever seen. The gods believed strength could be measured, that fate could be delayed, that prophecy could be controlled. They were wrong, because Fenrir was not just a wolf. He was the end of the gods, and the only one brave enough to face him was the one destined to die by his jaws. This is the story of Fenrir, the wolf the gods were afraid of. Fenrir was born from chaos. His father was Loki, the trickster god, a being of clever words, shifting loyalties, and hidden malice. His mother was Angrboda, a giantess who lived at the edge of the world, where the mountains crack and the future whispers to those who listen. From their union came 3 children, each more terrifying than the last. Jormungandr, the world serpent, destined to encircle the earth. Hel, ruler of the dead, cold and merciless. And Fenrir, the wolf whose hunger would swallow the sun. When the gods learned of these children, fear crept into Asgard. Prophecy spoke clearly. Loki's children would bring ruin to the gods. So Odin, all-father of Asgard, made a decision. The serpent was thrown into the sea. Hel was cast into the underworld. But Fenrir was brought to Asgard itself. At first, Fenrir seemed harmless, a wolf pup roaming the halls of gods, fed by Odin's warriors, watched carefully by wary eyes. But Fenrir grew, not slowly, not naturally. Each day he doubled in size. Each night his shadow stretched longer, his teeth sharpened, his gaze grew colder. The gods began to avoid him. Only one dared approach the wolf without fear. Tyr, the god of justice and honor. Tyr fed Fenrir, spoke to him, placed his hand near those growing jaws. Fenrir trusted Tyr, and trust, as the gods would soon learn, was the most dangerous thing of all. Odin watched Fenrir carefully. He had sacrificed an eye for knowledge, hung himself upon the world tree for wisdom. He knew fate could not be escaped. The prophecy was clear. At Ragnarok, Fenrir would break free. He would devour Odin himself, and so the gods chose betrayal. They would bind Fenrir, not because he had done wrong, but because he might. The gods forged a mighty chain and brought it to Fenrir. They told him it was a test of strength, a game. Fenrir laughed. He allowed himself to be bound. And with one violent pull, the chain shattered like brittle ice. The gods smiled nervously, but fear deepened. They forged another chain, stronger than the first. Fenrir allowed it again. This time, the ground shook when he broke free. The gods no longer laughed. Desperate, Odin sent the gods to the dwarves, the master smiths of impossible things. From them came Gleipnir, a ribbon thin as silk, soft as breath, lighter than air. It was made from things that should not exist. The sound of a cat's footsteps, the beard of a woman, the roots of a mountain, the breath of a fish, the sinews of a bear, and the spittle of birds. Fenrir looked at the ribbon and laughed, but he was not foolish. "You fear me," he said, "and you wish to trick me." Fenrir agreed to be bound, but only if one god placed a hand in his mouth as a sign of good faith. The gods fell silent. None stepped forward, except Tyr. Tyr knew what would happen. He stepped forward, calm and resolute, and placed his hand between Fenrir's teeth. The ribbon was wrapped around the wolf. Fenrir pulled, and for the first time in his life, he could not break free. Realizing the betrayal, Fenrir snapped his jaws shut. Tyr screamed. The gods watched as the wolf tore away the hand of the only god who had treated him with honor. Fenrir howled, not in pain, but in rage. The gods fastened Gleipnir to the earth itself, anchoring Fenrir to a massive stone. They placed a sword between his jaws to keep him from biting. From his mouth flowed rivers of saliva, forming the river Van. Bound, betrayed, humiliated, Fenrir waited, and the gods pretended the problem was solved. Time passed. Ages turned. Empires rose and fell in Midgard, while Fenrir remained, growing stronger, growing angrier. He did not forget. He did not forgive. Each day he pulled against his bonds, testing the unbreakable ribbon. Each night he dreamed of blood, of fire, of the end. The gods celebrated. They feasted. They told stories of victory. But fate was not finished. When the world cracked, when the sun darkened, when the dead walked free, Fenrir broke his chains. Gleipnir snapped like thread. The wolf rose, larger than mountains, his jaws stretching from earth to sky. With one bite, he swallowed the sun. With another, the moon. Darkness fell upon the world. The gods knew the end had come. Odin rode to battle, spear in hand, wolf companions at his side. He faced Fenrir, the monster he had tried to control, the fate he could not escape. Fenrir lunged, and Odin fell. The All-Father was devoured, just as prophecy foretold. The gods screamed in fury and grief, but vengeance followed. Vidar, Odin's silent son, stepped forward, wearing a shoe forged from scraps of leather, strong enough to resist Fenrir's jaws. He forced the wolf's mouth open, and with a mighty strike, ended Fenrir's life. The wolf fell, the world burned, and Ragnarök ran its course. Fenrir was not evil. He did not choose his fate. He did not seek destruction. He was feared for what he might become, betrayed for a prophecy he did not write, punished for a future he could not escape. The gods bound him not because he was a monster, but because they were afraid. And in that fear, they created the very thing they tried to prevent. Fenrir's story is not just about gods and monsters. It is about fear, about control, about what happens when power chooses betrayal over trust. Because sometimes, the chains we forge to protect ourselves are the ones that destroy us. And sometimes, the monster was never the wolf.